everybody, so new review for you guys today. We're talking about the upcoming sequel to The Craft from Blumhouse, The Craft Legacy. As a child from the 90s, I couldn't help but watch The Craft growing up. It's one of those cult classics that I really do enjoy. So I was a little bit hesitant when I heard that they were going to make a sequel to it from Blumhouse. Blumhouse is one of those studios that I really like. I mean, as a horror fan, I have a love-hate relationship with them, especially when they take these older properties and bring them anew, because you have stuff like The Invisible Man or Halloween 2018, which is stuff that I really enjoy and I think they did a really good job on. And then you have stuff like the 2019 remake of Black Christmas or Fantasy Island earlier this year. So it's really a mixed bag when it comes to these older properties, so that's part of why I was really hesitant going into this. Much like the original film, The Craft Legacy also centers around 4 aspiring teenage witches who form a coven, but get more than they bargained for as they lean into their newly found powers. It's clear here they wanted to take the core concept of The Craft and update it to modern times, but unfortunately I don't think it works really as well here. The film struggles to find its identity. At points it feels more like a remake than a sequel. Even the reason why it's called The Craft Legacy is kind of flimsy and feels tacked on. It almost feels like it would have benefited the film more to just be called a straight up remake instead of a continuation of the original film. One of the tough things going into a follow-up to The Craft is the iconic performances of the original 4, Robin Tunney, Fairuza Balk, Rachel True, and Neve Campbell. They were so iconic in those roles, and I really don't think you could really top them. I think they tried their best here to replicate them in some shape or form, but I really don't think the magic was really here, no pun intended, with this new cast. The script itself is the main downfall here, as I feel like they were all fine with what they were given, but they lack chemistry, and they don't even really share a lot of time to bond like the original 4 did, even though they're supposed to be a coven. Oddly enough, a large portion of the film's focus is actually just centered around Lily's character, played by Kaylee Spaney, as she's kind of like our new Sarah for this sequel. The 3 other members, Frankie, Tabby, and Lord, aren't really explored all that much, and not knowing much about their backstories really hurts the film. It hinders me from actually being able to care about these characters going forward, especially as they don't get a whole lot of screen time for large stretches of the film's runtime. Just a lot of weird decisions overall. Some I can't really go into too much because they are considered spoilers, but there is one little goofy thing I thought was interesting, as it's established early on in the film that the girls are actually different elements. They're earth, wind, fire, and water, and it just gave me really strong Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes. I don't know, the whole time I was really hoping for some sort of Avatar: The Last Airbender crossover, but sadly we didn't really get that. Another thing I noticed as I'm watching this film, we're about 60 minutes into this 90-minute long movie, 2/3 into the movie, and there's really no conflict going on. It's kind of just like a normal, stereotypical teen drama with like hints of witchcraft. And that's another thing that really took me out of the film, is it doesn't really feel like there's any stakes going on in this story with Lily, because as compared to something like, you know, the original film where Sarah and Nancy have a lot of tension as it builds throughout the second and third acts leading into that inevitable battle in the third act, it almost feels like in the script for this film they didn't really know what to do and completely forgot that there was supposed to be some sort of conflict for the third act, so they just spring it on you 2/3 into the film just out of nowhere, and it doesn't really feel like it fits too well. Especially as a lot of the conflict in this film isn't between the actual coven itself, it's between Lily and other characters in the film. As I said a bit ago, I did like the casting: Kaylee Spaney, Gideon Adelon, Lovey Simone, Zoe Luna, even Michelle Monaghan as the mom. I didn't like David Duchovny as the stepdad. I think he was probably the worst part of this. I don't know what David Duchovny was doing. It just felt like he walked on the set and was just sleepwalking through all of his scenes. All of his dialogue is so stilted. He has almost no personality no matter what the circumstance calls for in a scene. It was really bad. I don't know what he was doing. I like David Duchovny. I just don't know what he was doing in this film. I think that was probably the worst element of this. But yeah, sadly overall, I feel like the sequel really missed the mark. There are some fun fan servicey moments of the original film that I think maybe will get some rise out of the fans of the original Craft film, but I don't think it's enough to really warrant checking out the film if you're a fan of the original. I think you should just stick with the original. Blumhouse, I mean, like I said, they're like a hit and miss kind of studio when it comes to bringing back these old properties. While it's not a complete dumpster fire like something like Fantasy Island or 2019's Black Christmas, I really think they should spend a lot more time and effort into adapting these older materials into newer film adaptations. I think if they did that, this would be a much better film. But those have just been my thoughts on The Craft Legacy. It's actually out right now when I post this review. So let me know in the comments section down below if you choose to rent or buy the film. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you're a fan of the original film, I'd really love to hear your thoughts comparing it to the original. Just because, I mean, there's a lot of interesting tie-ins, I guess I should say, to The Craft Legacy and The Craft. Some of them I think work, some of them I don't think work, but I really love to know all your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for checking my reviews, though. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like it, the subscribe button. We'll keep that movie reviews, show reactions, unboxings, and more on the channel. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.